Welcome to the Robotics Through Science Fiction podcast. I'm Robin Murphy, and in this episode, I'll review Philip K. Dick's classic novel, Ubik, and its take on smart houses. Ubik is a PDK must-read, robots are not, but watch Minority Report first in order to prepare for the blast of ideas about telepathy and reality. Ubik's a full-stop immersion into PDK's world of telepaths, uncertain identities and realities, Smart-alecky, smart houses, and Kobayashi-Maru-no-win scenarios. Yet it's a bit more upbeat than his usual fare. Time magazine declared it one of the best 100 English-language novels published during the magazine's existence, though at the time of publication, Ubik didn't win any science fiction awards. The book explores the fluidity of reality, recalling the world building in Brandon Sanderson's Hugo Award-winning The Emperor's Soul, where the protagonist transforms objects into what they could have plausibly been. For example, a mundane window in a dungeon becomes a beautiful work of stained glass because in the past, the dungeon might have been part of a nicer part of the castle that was later converted to a jail. I had tried to read Ubik a couple of times and I couldn't get into it. And I realized that when I picked it up last month, I could finally get into it because I had been prepped by seeing the movies Minority Report and Inception. Minority Report, with Tom Cruise, is an adaptation of a PDK story, and it serves as a gentle introduction to his vision of telepaths and precog, sort of PDK for dummies. Now, Inception was by Christopher Nolan, but it does train the viewer to accept hey, what level of reality are we in? I don't know, just go with it attitude, which is going to be really helpful for reading Ubik. Ubik is not a classic PDK robot story. In most PDK robot stories, robots serve as mirrors, forcing the protagonist to confront assumptions about his own humanity or those of his loved ones. The most famous is, of course, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which spawned the Blade Runner franchise, but there are other examples. In The Electric Ant, the protagonist discovers that he's actually a robot, not a person. The real kick in the gut is that everyone, including his wife, knew he was a robot and was happy with that. It'd be too inconvenient for him to be a real person. Talk about being trapped in a humdrum life. In Second Variety, in its movie version Screamers, there are non-humanoid robots, but they exist primarily to set up the chilling evolution to humanoid. PDK did consider non-humanoid robots, using them to comment on the extremities of capitalism. His highly regarded short story Autofact is about a robot factory and is, if you will, a capitalist version of Ray Bradbury's There Will Come Soft Rains. Bradbury's story imagined a smart house running on autopilot after a nuclear war, evoking a profound sadness about the death of the family that had once lived there. On the other hand, PDK imagined a factory similarly running on autopilot after a nuclear war, but evoking dread as the factory competes with the remaining clusters of survivors for available resources so that it can continue to make items that are no longer needed. PDK imagined that smart houses and appliances would be leveraged by capitalism and played this for a semi-humorous effect in Ubik. While not directly about robots, Ubik features a panoply of non-humanoid robots in the background, most noticeably smart houses and the Internet of Things. And the protagonist is constantly having to borrow money from friends to pay a smart house so he can open the refrigerator door, to get a cup of coffee, or even open the front door to go to work, to get more money, to pay the smart house. The constant stream of transactions and the constant negotiations with the house about paying it back later forms a running joke throughout the book. Fortunately, PDK's prediction in Ubik didn't come entirely true. On one hand, his vision of a smart house that could control access to all aspects of a house, including doors, is becoming a reality. Smart houses for assisted living are already opening doors for elders or disabled occupants, and even doing things like lowering kitchen cabinets to make it easier to reach inside. On the other hand, the Internet of Things does not work on a transaction basis. The charges for the services are either hidden in the cost of the appliance or in services like Alexa or Siri that control them. Well, and to be sure, smart houses are not the point of Ubik. They exist to add to the verisimilitude of a near future. But in real life, smart houses were never the goal of robotics. They are benefits of continuing general technological progress in robotics, and who knows what other advances will lead to next. Whatever is the next incarnation of robotics into our daily lives, let's hope it isn't as mouthy as the smart house in Ubik. In the meantime, Joe Williams, our wonderful site runner, has asked me to remind you that if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Robotics Through Science Fiction YouTube channel and newsletter so that you won't miss a thing.